14 minutes to 8 o'clock. I'm just seeing a live shot right now of Bilgold Bends where this garbage truck has tipped onto its side, and now it looks like a crane is going to be involved to turn it upright. No news through on the driver at this stage. The driver was trapped, and Barrenjoey Road closed in both directions on the northern beaches. We'll keep you updated. Our number 131873. Well, what about China targeting Scott Morrison? They have taken over his account on a Chinese-owned social media platform, WeChat, and they've turned it into a Beijing propaganda page. It's now called Australian Chinese New Life, and it's all happened without the Prime Minister's knowledge. James Paterson, the Liberal Senator and Chair of the Joint Parliamentary Committee on Intelligence and Security. Senator, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
What do you make of the move by Beijing?
Well, it's a very concerning story on a number of levels, Ben. One of my main concerns is that there's 1.2 million Australians of Chinese descent who overwhelmingly use this service and now can no longer access news and information from their Prime Minister on this service, and yet they can still gain access to critiques of the government, attacks on the government by the opposition leader, Mr. Anthony Albanese. So what the Chinese government has done by shutting down the Prime Minister's account is effectively foreign interference in our democracy and in an election year.
I suppose they would argue this is a Chinese-owned social media site, so we can decide who's on it, a bit like Australia can decide whether or not Novak Djokovic comes to Australia.
Sure, they can do that, and we can draw judgments about that. And my view is that if they're going to be censoring Australian politicians, if they're going to be shutting down the Prime Minister, then no Australian politician should be on WeChat. No one should be legitimising their censorship and their control over our public debate. This is Australia. We get to decide who participates in public debate here.
So is Scott Morrison the only one they've targeted, as far as we know?
He's the only one they've targeted so far, as far as we know. But I just think there's no reason for Australian politicians to be on there anymore if the Chinese government is going to set the terms of the debate.
What did you make of what happened at the Australian Open over the weekend, where some tennis fans had T-shirts removed because they were asking about the whereabouts of the Chinese tennis star Peng Shuai?
I was very concerned by those reports, Ben, as well. I'm very surprised that Tennis Australia, who says they're concerned about her welfare, has taken this stance. If they're really concerned about her welfare, and if they say it's their primary concern, I don't understand why they want to shut it down. They've described these T-shirts as political, but I'm not sure what's political about an allegation of sexual assault. We shouldn't accept the Chinese Communist Party's framing of this issue.
On another one, Paul Keating is back in the news again, going into bat for Beijing. He's had a shot at the British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, who said Russia is working more closely with China than ever, and we have to make sure that we work together to deal with that. Paul Keating, in a pretty extraordinary spray, says that Liz Truss is nothing short of demented.
Look, it's another very sad contribution from a very out-of-date politician. Paul Keating is not what he once was, and that's a very sad thing. He's about 30 years behind his security updates and briefings, and that reflects the way he's speaking today. I'm disappointed that he's referring to such a close ally, such a good friend of Australia in that way. We've just secured a free trade agreement with the United Kingdom. We've just secured the AUKUS agreement, which is going to deliver us nuclear submarines, and that's how he speaks about them. By contrast, in the same interview, Mr. Keating said that Xi Jinping had said nice things at the Davos summit, and therefore we had nothing to fear from China. I mean, if only that was the case, that China is militarising the South China Sea at a rapid rate. It's engaging in the largest peacetime build-up of its military in history. I mean, he's just really sad and out of touch.
As the chair of the Joint Parliamentary Committee on Intelligence and Security, have you got advice for any Aussie athletes who are going to the Winter Olympics in Beijing?
Yeah, a couple of things. Don't take your phone or any other electronic device, and be very careful what you say and do there, because China is not a free country and you are not entitled to free speech in that country, and there are very risks to your personal safety while you're there. I wish that wasn't the case. I think the International Olympic Committee hasn't done enough to secure the safety and freedom of athletes while they're there, and I think we need to think very carefully in the future, the International Olympic Community in particular, about whether we should allow Olympic Games to be held in countries where athlete safety and well-being can't be guaranteed.
We appreciate your time, Senator.
Thank you, Ben.
James Paterson, the chair of the Joint Parliamentary Committee on Intelligence and Security. So ScoMo has been kicked off WeChat. Albo's still on there.